Well, I guess.
Are you Timmy Turner with the pink hat? Stop talking to me. Can we just talk?
It's time for the Garage Boozing Podcast.
What's up, nerds? Welcome back to another episode of the Garage Boozing Podcast. I'm your host, the man with absolutely no plan, the Chase with the face for radio, Chase Shurga. It is so good to be here, guys. Welcome back to the show. On this episode, we are joined by two very special guests, Dillon Murphy and Andrew Nygard, who actually happen to have their own podcast, the Weasel Snake Podcast, and you're going to hear all about that during the episode. But we did a little bit of a collab, so they hopped on my podcast this week, and I'm going to be on one of their soon episodes of their podcast as well. So be sure to check out the Weasel Snake Podcast, especially if you're a huge sports fan. I'm very excited for you guys to listen to this one. It's awesome. Some great topics. So without further ado, you know what time it is. It's time to sit back, relax, kick your feet up, crack open a cold one, and if you're really feeling fruity, take a shot. Why not? Because this week's episode of the Garage Boozing Podcast starts now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Garage Boozing Podcast. Today, I am joined by two very special guests. To my right, your left, if you're watching on YouTube, we have Dillon Murphy. And then to my left, your right, if we're watching on YouTube, we have Andrew Nygard. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
And wait, do you prefer Andrew or Drew?
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
So if I call you Drew, that's fine?
That's fine with
I
me,
feel
man.
like it's easier to roll off the tongue than Andrew.
That's very good. Let's do that.
You could also call him the Weasel because he does weaselly shit.
And you can call him the Snake because he does snaky shit.
Okay, so that leads me to my next point I was going to say here. These two also have a podcast. It's called the Weasel Snake Podcast. And my question here is, where did that name come from? Why? Who's the weasel and who's the snake? If I had to guess, I would probably say Drew is probably the weasel, and I think you are the snake.
On the head. Okay, so here's how it happened. So Drew, the Weasel, he got his nickname first because he's famous for in every facet of life. It doesn't matter if it's fantasy football or just facet, F-A-C-E-T, facet.
Elaborate.
Every part of life. Sorry.
Come on. I don't know. I actually don't know what that means.
Facet. There's not even a word with Chase this episode.
I know, but I actually don't know what the word is.
So in every part of life.
There we go. Part.
Facet. In every part.
Yeah. Lingo.
He's a fucking weasel. So I called him the Weasel. And so after I gave him that moniker, he had to come back because he couldn't just be called the Weasel by himself.
Yeah.
He had to come back and give me a moniker because I'm the Snake.
In such a weasel fashion, I have to say, wow, I can't just be sitting here by myself in my own treehouse gang. I need to create him as a person as well, so I made him the snake.
So I took
to my
flack as
weasel.
well. Yeah.
So it's a yin and yang, weasel, snake. It's
What
like,
did he do to be a weasel? And what did you do to be a
I
snake?
mean, it's just years of just. I mean,
he
weaselly
just says things
Yeah.
like he says things.
Have you guys been friends for a long time?
Yes.
I mean, since 6th, 7th grade, coming down to lunch.
You know,
and,
hear me out. Hear
school.
me out. The first time I met Drew, you want to know what it was? It was because we went to different elementary schools. We met at like this concert. We both played saxophone in 5th grade.
I played the saxophone.
Wow,
Shut the
alto.
fuck up.
Swear to
Really?
God. Yeah,
The
swear
alto,
to God.
huh?
The alto sax.
Yeah, swear to God. Yeah.
Yo,
Well, I took
alto sax.
I took lessons out.
Alto sax.
No, I took lessons out of school because I wanted to learn the saxophone, but that's because I'm a nerd.
That's
so.
fair.
Yeah, what
No
the
worries.
fuck?
Yeah, it was like
You
4 years
literally
ago.
started the pod with "What's up, nerds?" And
I know, right? And then here I am taking
Nerd,
saxophone
bro.
lessons
Exactly.
at
No.
24 years old.
No, hear me out. Like 5th grade sax was the shit, and I learned to play like "Don't Stop Believing."
Stop.
Yeah.
You know, and then I met Drew from there, and then
Yeah.
and then we started out as distant friends, and now in high school we just became like a love-hate relationship.
It's-
We've actually physically fought twice.
Twice.
I mean, like it wasn't
Throwing
like,
blows?
I mean,
No.
one was like an actual wrestling match. These like we were both fucked up, and like for a multitude of reasons, like I was calling Drew a felon. You know, spears are flowing.
Yeah, spears are thrown, dude. Like there's like listen, there's
Who won the fight?
I mean,
Me.
at that time
I
he
tapped him
did.
out.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not gonna say here.
I tapped him out.
Let's call a spade a spade. He
I
tapped
tapped him
out. The second time we were at the bottom of someone's basement at a caroling party. We'll say the name is nameless, and we were using a workout foam
little orange.
Yeah, you know how you
tubular
roll
thing.
things out.
Yeah,
the
the one you put on your back?
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, 2 of those. Imagine
Yeah.
2 like teenage 14-year-olds whacking each other with that.
And hear me out. I still should have won because hear me out. Like Drew won because he was like dodging stuff. He was pulling some like Matrix. He was leaning back.
I might.
But I was hitting blows on him. Like I was fucking. I was nailing him.
You guys are attacking each other as the back rollers.
Yes.
Oh, 1000%.
Yeah. Yeah,
1,000%.
like after
Check it out.
after
I
Christmas
still have
Carol.
a video. Check this out.
Like all juiced up. Yeah, like only Chase can see it, but like, we're literally fighting with noodles. We are literally fighting with. See,
And that was your second time fighting.
That was
was
and
thinking-
it wasn't just
so-
that. That was just like a 30-second blip, but it was like 20 minutes of like just us like berating, like tackling each other, like just beating us with these noodles.
It went to 3 rounds. He was voted the winner, but I will say, you know what? I will just say, some of the voters, people that voted, said that they only voted for Drew to win just so they could see me, kind of,
That would be me. If I was in a vote, like people had the chance to vote me to lose, they would vote me to lose.
Yeah. So you know what? So like I hold. There
There were a lot of stipulations that night that,
See-
that are not talked about.
Yeah.
At this
But,
time.
like it's 1-1, but like I would say there's an asterisk on his win. Where
That's
on
fair.
mine there was no asterisk.
That's
like
fair.
I like I got him in the headlock and
That's
he
true.
tapped. So
I'm not gonna
just
sit
saying.
here and say there was anything like the first time he definitely got me. The second time I got the
Yes.
vote, I'm not gonna sit
Yes.
here and deny
So
it. But
majority rules, right?
I mean, yeah, I won the second time.
No.
We're not gonna waltz around.
But, yeah, but honestly, like long story short, like all this is what is built up to our podcast. Because like we're in this fantasy league with it's him and I.
yeah.
and
So
then we
that's
have-
my next question. Tell me a little about the Weasel Snake
Yeah,
podcast.
so I guess I got
Yeah,
the
you run
original.
with
So
it.
my next door neighbor, he does a podcast about his fantasy league, and although that it's not like anything serious, he just does a fun fantasy league that just roasts his fellow league mates, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I said, okay, what could I bring to my fantasy league with the best duo that could roast people? And I said, oh my god,
It's a no-brainer.
It's the Snake. It's the Weasel. It's the Weasel Snake podcast.
with our history,
And
you
like
just heard about,
I
we had
introduced
to.
the idea, and I asked some friends around. They're like, "Oh my god, it's perfect." So like I was like, "Oh my god, we should start a podcast." And he's like, "Oh my god, I even have a better idea." So based off of what you were, remember that time that you were hammered?
Oh, I feel you. Yeah.
Remember that time you were hammered? Which
there's,
time?
There's a
It's
whole
many.
story. So the whole story was that I came to him with a podcast idea, and then he came to me before I even came to him with the podcast idea. He already had an idea in the banks, and this is how he got his idea.
Yeah, and like the whole thing was that like if we were gonna do a fantasy football podcast, it's like there's a million fantasy football podcasts out there that you could look at, right? I mean, like if you wanted to go for fantasy advice, you're not gonna go to like some random people. You're gonna go to like someone like like an actual website with
Educated.
like
Low key, a lot
Yeah.
of fantasy football people are former players talking about
Yeah.
which players they think is going to
exactly.
excel.
Well, with so for me, I was like, we need a niche. Well, we need a niche that like sets us apart from other like kind of fantasy football podcasts. So my thing was that like we create a website or we create a way that like our podcast listeners are going to be invested in not just like our fantasy advice, but like our league itself. So I was like, I don't know if you've seen the league on FX. It's a
Yeah.
show. Yeah. So I mean, it'd be almost like a real life version of the league mixed with a fantasy football podcast where it's like you're listening to us as like for fantasy advice. I mean, like we talk about fantasy and who we think should be like good waiver wire picks, or like I do a daily fantasy segment and things like that. But at the same time, is that like we create these like we're the Weasel and the Snake, but we also have other personalities. Like we have our friend Teddy, who's the Gopher, and our friend Nick, who's Lieutenant Nick, who we shit talked as the worst fantasy player before the draft, and now he's in the playoffs and has had a great year. So it's like we're creating personalities for each of our teams in the league while also giving fantasy advice. So like it's not just like a fantasy football advice podcast like anything else like you'd see. So we're trying to create something unique like that, pretty much.
Yeah, we're almost trying to create a following for each team instead of like a broad per player type of atmosphere in fantasy. So, for instance, when somebody logs into the WeaselSnakePodcast.com at our website, you can follow each team, and then you follow that team, not really following a certain player, but you follow a team. And although it's not like your NFL favorite, like the Eagles, Giants, or Cowboys, or Chiefs, whatever it is, it's like that person's fantasy. So if you love my team, you love the Weasels team, you follow me, you bet on me, you say, this guy's going to win this week, you bet on our social media, like we do all these things.
And this is all while listening to our podcast. You know,
So we
like,
say,
they're
so
both-
I like how you just said simultaneously. You just said podcast
Yes.
together. You
Yeah.
both are like podcast.
Well, we've been trying to say like that's our whole goal is to try to get you to look at our rosters while we're talking about them, so
We're
you
pretty
kind
much-
of
yeah.
grasp while we're talking about
That makes
those said
sense.
rosters. Yeah,
It's like
Yeah.
entertainment too at the same time.
exactly.
We're like marketing like I'm hesitant to say reality, but like we're almost marketing like the relationships that we have like with the people in our league because we are such good friends. We went to high school together. We have a lot of long running jokes. We're almost using that to our advantage.
Yeah.
And the fact that like there's part of it which is fantasy advice that you can use in your own fantasy leagues, but the other part is that like we've all known each other forever. We're always shit talking each other. Like,
and that's what fantasy is all about. You know how many times like trades go through and you're like, yo, I need this player, and you're like, nah, and you're like, dude,
Yeah.
you're such an
Oh,
asshole.
yeah,
Dude, It's
of
just
course.
the
Yeah.
common like
Yeah.
like the competitive between people, and you doing with people that you grow up with makes it so much better. And we're just
Dude,
talking about
shit
it.
talking your friends is the best.
Dude,
it's so
amazing.
funny. And hear me out. Like, our loser's punishment. So like right now, like we're in the playoffs, and like the people in the playoffs are fighting for the chip, but the people who are not, which includes both him and I, are fighting in the person in last place has to stand in the Glens Falls circle for like X amount of time.
In the outfit of the people that didn't lose his choice, and one of the,
We've been hyping up ashless chaps. How like whoever loses has to stand in the Glen Falls circle and ashless chaps.
and with like a suit on or like a sign
Like a
that says,
funny-ass,
I
stupid
lost
suit.
my fantasy.
So like
football.
public humiliation, like whoever loses.
How long
the
are they
league.
standing there?
I'd
like,
say, I had to
I
say
was
a
saying, like,
minimum
half
of
an hour.
A minimum half.
You know, I was saying
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Minimum
cold.
half an hour.
It's
Yeah.
half an hour, 20 minutes. You know, like something like hilarious where like we can like be sending it around the circle over and over again, like
recording,
honking,
like
that's
recording.
awesome.
we could send
getting
people
pictures.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
we obviously
yeah.
have to make it well known that this person is obviously
A
feeling
loser.
punished. Yes.
Exactly. That's the
Yes.
crux of the whole thing, where it's like yeah, we're talking about fantasy, but you know, like we're all douches to each other. We're, like these
And
are
that's
long-standing
great. I like that.
friendships, and it's like you're like following along
That's
to see
what
like
that's
who's
what
going
the
to be in
comedy
it.
side of our podcast is. Although we're under the sports category,
Fantasy
and
football and stuff.
We want to be known as comedy as well because we're trying to,
Have
a
fun with it.
connection
Put a-
between
put a
the
little
people.
spin on it.
Everyone's fantasy.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Draft top. That's right, folks. It's time for a commercial break here. And this wouldn't be the Garage Boozing Podcast if I didn't tell you about one of our sponsors, Draft Top. What is a draft top, you ask? Well, I explain it every single week, but guess what? I'm explaining it again. It's this cool little bar tool in my hand. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're just listening, you just got to listen to me talk about it for a minute here. It's this cool little bar tool. You stick it right on the top of your beer can. You give it a little friction to the left, a little friction to the right, a little spin, boom. The top of your beer can pops right off, and your beer can just became a cup. So forget drinking out of a red Solo cup. I'll fill you up. Get yourself a draft top. It makes for a complete better drinking experience. You can chug your beer a hell of a lot quicker. You can smell the aroma of the alcohol. All around, better drinking experience. I want you to have one. Draft Top wants you to have one. You want you to have one. Where can you get one? www.drafttop.com. And don't forget to use promo code 10%-GarageBoozing for 10% off your very own draft top or anything on their site. Use the promo code site-wide. Once again, that is 10PERCENT-GarageBoozing at checkout for 10% off site-wide, drafttop.com. All right, back to the show. There's one story we started before that I said, stop talking about, we're going to talk about on the podcast, but it had to do with your podcast. A smoker story with the smoker?
So we talk about So I'm gonna rip it back to the very first. Let's just talk about the sip and smoke for real. So
Yeah.
let's just talk about how you came up with the idea for the sip and
Yeah,
smoke.
so
This is honestly epic in itself.
okay, so like I have this weird thing where it's like a lot of people go to their notes to like give ideas that they think of, right? You know,
Yeah.
I mean like people
notes
go
in
into
your
their
phone.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of notes, it's kind of weird. And this is because I only recently got an iPhone. So on my Samsung phones before, and my Android phones before, I didn't really have I had a notes app, but it was shitty. So I would text myself things. Drew kind of like came to me like vaguely about the podcast. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. But then like I was thinking more about it, and like I was like, you know, I'll be fucking sick because I knew about the smoker that Drew had, which we'll talk about in a second. I would love to hear the story about how he got it. I was like, we should start the podcast with a sip and smoke and a draft on that day. So what that means is that we're going to use the smoker. We're going to smoke ribs for 8 hours, but that's how long it takes. We're going to do it's a draft online, but we made a draft board. We were going to write all the picks on the board, and we were going to have as many people as were in the area because in our league we have people in Alabama, people in Tampa, people in Maine.
Yeah.
Big league.
Oh,
man. How do you know all
exactly.
these people?
This is from high school. They just all go over the
Networking.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
Yeah. Like, every single person in the league graduated with us. So we're
okay.
we're all from South High. Everyone is a 2016 graduate. So for everyone was there. We were gonna do a draft board. We were gonna smoke ribs in the smoker, and we were gonna call it the sip and smoke. You know, it's like
Sip and smoke.
This is the first line from the first pod. The sip and smoke idea came from the fact that it's like a sip and paint, but with more testosterone.
I love sip and paint.
Exactly. So the sip and smoke is like the sip and paint, but with more testosterone and aggression.
Of course,
you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Because, you know, like instead of paint and like a canvas, it's ribs and meat and football. You know what I'm saying?
Man things.
And
Man
drafts.
things.
And yeah, it's talking
Man
about
things.
life.
Exactly. Yeah. So not just the first, but the first 2 pods were a pre and a post draft pod at the sip and smoke at the beginning of the league.
And that being said, the smoker that came into my life was honestly just a gift out of nowhere.
Please tell the story about the smoker.
It's
This is
honestly
good.
legendary, and it's going to bless everyone. So I there's this golf tournament that my father participates in. He works at Ace Hardware, which is like a big distribution plant for all Ace products. It's huge. It's like you can fit 5 Walmarts in the fucking thing.
Yeah, huge.
It's crazy. And they have a huge golf tournament. The whole company. There's like 140 workers, and like 80 of them participate in a golf tournament. At Airway Meadows. And I said, yo, Dad, like when I become good at golf, like you should invite me to the thing. You should invite me to the golf tournament. So obviously through Ace's programs and obviously through distribution, they lose product because they drop it, the box breaks. So they have extra products that they raffle off at this said golf tournament that they host at Airway Meadows. So I said, okay. So I walk in. Everything that they do for this golf tournament is for charity. It's for whatever it is. I don't remember what it is. And then So they take all this money and they draft it. So I got raffle tickets and they raffling it off. And they're like, and I walk into the whole ordeal and I see this dehydrator that I want. And I said, oh my God, I want that dehydrator. So I bought raffle tickets and then I get the raffle tickets.
What the fuck does a dehydrator do?
I
I still don't know, and you told me probably 20 minutes ago.
And it dehydrates whatever you want. I have to say that it sits at a cool like 120 degrees and just dehydrates
That's
the
not
water.
cool. That's very hot.
I would have to say that it's
Yeah, that's the
not
opposite of
cool.
cool.
Yeah, that's like burning. That would melt. That would melt. And you put something in it, it's melting. What do you mean? Cool 120
I gotta
degrees?
say it's a simmer. It's a quick simmer.
No, like no, it's not a simmer. If you're putting something at 120 degrees, that shit is melting.
Burnt.
That's burnt. I don't know.
You put a bag of M&Ms in there, that thing is fucking melting.
I know.
That's the chocolate syrup.
All right, so
like,
87 degrees
So that's what
Fahrenheit.
you wanted. What you thought it was a dehydrator.
So they're raffling things
Do
off.
we know what a dehydrator is?
No.
I still don't.
So anyway,
he
let me
says
just.
he does.
Can I just continue with the story?
I just want to know if a dehydrator, if you know what it is.
Yes.
What is it?
What's the number one thing you make in a dehydrator? You think?
You make things in
Beef jerky, like some sort of meat you dehydrate.
So
into jerky.
would I put a piece of steak in it and it would just become jerky?
No,
I mean, like, how do you make jerky in the dehydrator?
I don't know. I'm not a jerky specialist.
Well, I mean, I guess.
Are you Timmy Turner with the pink hat? Stop talking to me. Can we just talk about the whole sip and smoke thing? I don't know why.
Oh, his hat is pink.
I know.
Okay, relax. It's a reddish salmon. So okay,
It's not
relax.
salmon.
That's
It's pink.
funny, that's funny.
It's pink. Anyway, as I was saying.
Yeah, slap dick.
Slap
Go on. Yeah. Cheers.
Anyway,
Lord.
so as I was saying, I walk into this golf tournament saying, oh my God, out of all these things that were broken, I want this dehydrator. So I buy raffle tickets in the beginning. I play my golf tournament, and they're raffling things off left and right. And they're like, oh my God, it's the last item. It's a chainsaw, blah, blah, blah. I put my tickets away. It's been like 10 minutes. I just put my tickets in my pocket, and out of nowhere, they go, oh my God, we forgot about one item. It's a smoker. It's like an industrially $700 smoker, and it's on the market. And little did I know, it was the dehydrator that I wanted.
That he thought was a dehydrator,
And then
which I don't even know what that is. First of all,
And then
Why did you want a dehydrator if you don't know what it does?
I thought it was a dehydrator. And
well, why did you want it? What does it do? What did you think it did?
Because I like dehydrated mangoes, dehydrated fruit, bananas.
This
like,
dude,
all
like-
these raisins. Raisins are dehydrated grapes.
Okay, you took the words out of my mouth. But second of all, if you take a banana and you stick it in a dehydrator, what does it become?
I have no idea.
like a
banana,
chip?
banana pancake, like a plantain chip. You ever had a plantain chip? It'd be like that.
I've
but
had a
banana
plantain
chip.
chip.
Like it'd be the
I don't
banana
think
chip.
that,
but
A
I,
plantain
banana
chip.
I
chip?
don't think that's how that works though.
I don't know how the process works as
That's
if you
my only
dehydrate a
thought.
plant, but I'm just saying like. That's
So
what
why
it's
did
like.
you want a dehydrator?
I just don't because it's weird, and I was like, oh, it's kind of
He's
cool.
an
You're like,
off-
yeah, you're like, I'm weird, so I want a weird thing.
Yeah, one weird thing.
No, hear me out. Like the Weasel, like is like a very like off mainstream guy.
Like, if-
Well, no shit. I've
you
never
look-
met anyone that said I wanted a dehydrator.
Exactly. No, and
Yeah.
here's the thing. It's like in high school he played like soccer, right? But then he also played tennis. But he's also good at the weirdest games. He's good at darts, cornhole,
And badminton.
horseshoes, badminton.
I
Like
guarantee
nuts.
I'm the best ping pong player you've ever seen in your life.
Okay, well,
Ping
if-
pong.
okay.
It's
Like
bizarre.
you think you
I'm
know a
telling
good
you.
ping pong player, and I'll be 5 times better than that said ping pong.
Like he's not like a Bo Jackson where he's elite at like really popular sports.
I
You know, like
I
basketball,
like
baseball.
I like the squeamy weasel bullshit.
So you're probably good at bowling.
He's like he's. A
I
good
shot a
bowler.
192 the other day.
You know what's funny? the last time I saw him before I had COVID, which yes, I did have COVID, and which is why we had to reschedule this podcast a couple times.
That's true.
Yeah. The last time I saw him before I had COVID was we bowled, and he was pretty good. Like he's always been good at like the strange and also like father-esque. You know, like he's very dad-like.
That's who I am.
Dad-like games, which also brings us right back around to the smoker.
That being said, I was like, oh my god. So they literally like, yeah, we forgot about the the industrial elite smoker was a $700 smoker, and they literally called my number, and in front of like all my dad's coworkers who are all 40, and it's me, this 19-year-old out of nowhere who just bought $30 worth of raffle tickets, won this $800 elite smoker, and after and after all this, I had all these grown adults being like, I'll give you $300 for it, I'll trade you this for it.
Yeah,
like,
2 words, slap.
And I was really like, yeah, slap dick. And I literally brought it home, and then like 2 years in the making, him literally like blackout, wrote down in his
texting
notes,
myself,
said, oh my god, I need to have a sip and smoke with beer and Drew Smoker, and that's how it became all reality. And here we are with the Weasel Snake Podcast.
Pretty nuts. It started from a drunk text to myself and a random golf. What he thought was a dehydrator raffle ticket. And
What's actually a
and
smoker,
that's how our podcast became.
And not just a smoker, a $700 industrial size could smoke 9 racks of ribs at once, like a real badass.
You still have it?
Oh yeah, we can do it right now if you want.
Oh,
Anytime you want. If you ever want a smoke party.
Do your parents love it?
Oh, it's awesome. My dad's a huge into it. I buy Christmas gifts for him all the time.
Yeah.
Really?
It's huge. It's like I could do brisket, ribs, salmon, like
Really?
9.
We
it's
did
a
salmon.
$700 smoker.
You're like, fuck it, I'm gonna take
No.
the money, I'm keeping the smoker.
exactly.
Natural Light Beer. It wouldn't be an episode if I didn't tell you about Natural Light Beer, so here's another quick commercial for you. Natural Light Beer is the absolute king of beers, the best beer on the market, the top shelf beer, the beer of all beers, and one of the least expensive beers on the market. Cheap and delicious. That's a combo if I've ever seen one. We all know I love me some Natty Light beer. I'm very thankful for their sponsorship. So don't forget to get yourself some Natural Light beer or get some Natural Light beer gear. You can get all of that at www.naturallight.com. Check their website to see where Natural Light is closest to you. Pick some up, slug it down. You will not be sorry, I promise. I can guarantee it. All right, folks, back to the show. Now that we're back from the bathroom break.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, both of you have probably seen this, so I'd like to know both of your opinions here. So the Paul brothers, they're making. I will say, I've said it a million times. The Paul brothers are making boxing relevant again, and like, yeah, sure, you'll watch a Floyd Mayweather fight if it's on. It hasn't been in like 3 years. A Tyson Fury fight, which hasn't been like a year or two. Stuff like that. Like, sure, Mike Tyson's fight. Yeah, you want to watch it? It's Mike Tyson. Oh, it's an exhibition match, no winner. Sure, we'll still watch it. Nothing. The UFC comes into the picture, mops the floor with boxing, completely overtakes that whole thing. And now you have Logan Paul and Jake Paul just coming on the internet talking a bunch of shit. And these guys are fighting fucking like celebrities and shit and that's all they want to fight. Celebrities, big name stuff like that. So you got Jake Paul. Honestly, I wanted Jake Paul to win that fight just because I was like, his background, YouTuber, talking shit, great, love stuff like that. That's why I loved Conor McGregor, because Conor McGregor would come out and just talk shit and then win. So I'm like, Jake, please win this. Did I expect him to knock Nate Robinson out in the second round? No. That shit was the highlight of the whole pay-per-view. You got a whole fucking exhibition match as your main event, but you got Jake Paul knocking, 23-year-old Jake Paul knocking out Nate Robinson in the second round. And nuts. Blows my mind. So I just want to say, I completely respect what the Paul brothers are doing. They might be little assholes, little shitheads, sure. They are douchebags all day. But what they are doing, they're talking shit just to fucking win money, man. These guys are so smart. They're talking all this shit. Now you got Jake Paul saying, today, he just posted on his Instagram, he's calling out Conor McGregor, talking all this shit. Just so you know, I've supported the Paul brothers all day until this, but Conor McGregor will beat the living fuck out of Jake Paul. There's no argument there.
You can talk about it in a boxing standpoint or a UFC standpoint.
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. I honestly think that Jake Paul would get his nuts kicked in.
Yeah. So I've heard both things. I've heard Jake Paul against both Floyd Mayweather, and I've heard that Jake Paul against Conor McGregor.
Well, no, you have Logan Paul against Floyd Mayweather. That's official.
Or Logan. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
that's the
Logan.
older brother.
Yeah, why don't you talk about both?
Oh, wait.
Yeah, Logan.
It's Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather.
So that's a different. That's
yes.
a different
They're
Paul.
Yeah,
brothers.
so
Yes.
Logan Paul, the older brother, is officially going to fight Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition
And
match.
Jake Paul's calling out Conor McGregor to fight out in another match. It hasn't been confirmed, but
Okay.
that's what he wants.
See,
And
that's
see,
fucking foolish. I mean, like in my opinion. But wait, what do you have? What do you have?
No, I was just gonna say because I think it's unreal that Floyd Mayweather takes a fight just as an exhibition match because this guy that's 50 pounds stronger than him, he's afraid he's getting knocked out or whatever. Obviously, it's because he doesn't want to fuck up his record. I think Logan Paul has a serious chance of knocking out Floyd Mayweather just because. I keep burping.
You're good.
Just because Floyd Mayweather is 149 pounds and you have Logan Paul who's 199 pounds. That is a fucking serious difference. When you're looking at Jake Paul and Conor McGregor, that's way more closer. Like that's a fight they can actually have a fucking battle.
An actual official level.
Yeah, I have to say, and this is where I have to agree with you, as I understand that if just off of a basic science standpoint, Logan Paul has an advantage over Floyd Money Mayweather.
He's 6 inches taller than him.
1,000% agreed, but you have to understand that Floyd is the best boxer, and you can make this argument of all time because his record is undefeated. His technique has beaten a UFC champion, Conor McGregor, in the boxing ring. You have to understand that this Logan Paul is an amateur. This guy has never won a professional.
That's true. He's 0-1.
He's never won a boxing match in his life, and this guy wants to walk into the ring with the best of all time, undefeated.
It's all about money, man.
And I'm telling you right now, if this is unrigged, and you talk about it in your last podcast, and I understand things are rigged with money, and there's always a price.
I don't think it is.
But I understand there might not be a price, but I'm just saying there always is. I'm just saying is this: if it was never rigged and it was just basic talent versus talent, Floyd would win that 100 times out of 100 because he is the best of all
Any person that thinks Floyd Mayweather would take a rigged fight for money is an ignorant fucking fool because this guy is undefeated. Why would he take one loss for fucking $50 million?
This is gonna be on the global
when
scale.
this guy's net worth is over $1 billion.
Scale.
This guy has more money than any of us can ever wet dream about.
That's a fact. Yeah.
And seriously, he's not going to take a rigged fight just to lose to a fucking YouTuber.
If he loses this fight, he will be known as not that good.
No,
Right. If he loses this fight, it's real. If he loses that fight, that is a fucking legit loss.
Yes.
Has to be.
In fact, and like there's a reason that Floyd Mayweather, like he waited to fight Pacquiao for not months. He for years.
Yes.
He didn't fight Pacquiao for probably 3 or 4 years until like Pacquiao was maybe a little bit out of his prime.
Yes, exactly.
And like if you watch the
he knows the game,
Pacquiao
man.
Mayweather fight, it was boring as shit. But Floyd
I hated
Mayweather,
that.
It was not an
He
entertaining
knew that
fight.
he couldn't be
See,
Conor
Floyd-
McGregor either. He needed to lull him to
That's
death.
the thing about him
He
is
needed to lull him.
Floyd's game is he runs away, he dodges,
Yes,
and that's
he's
it.
defensive.
But when you have a 23-year-old kid coming at you, bro, like you got a problem right now. Like,
I mean,
defense, bro.
like, for Floyd Mayweather, to me, like a fight against either of the Paul brothers, either Logan or I do not give a fuck. Like, it is gonna make a lot of money,
and that
because of the fact of what you're saying is because the Pauls are bringing boxing back.
they're being
like,
smart, man.
Like, it's not even from a quality perspective because like you can't tell me that fucking whatever Paul brother, Jake Paul and Nate Robinson are high quality boxing, but it doesn't matter the quality if you're making money. So if they're making money, and Mayweather can win and not tarnish his record, he's taking it. Like he's not taking a fight that he can lose.
Right.
He's not.
But the thing is, if he does actually lose, like if there is a knockout or it's an exhibition loss, that's a loss. I don't care what the fuck. It's not your.
Oh, you're
professional-
right.
It's
I
not.
agree.
It might not be on your professional record, but that's
I
a
agree.
loss to me as a fan. Like you fucking lost, dude.
Some
I think a
arguments.
punch from Logan Paul would hurt more than a punch from Floyd Mayweather.
No, Chase.
There's a
stop
50-pound difference. Are you kidding?
Chase, stop it, Chase.
You got to be joking me.
Dude, one has never lost in professional boxing, and one
That doesn't
posts
matter.
videos on
You were just
TikTok.
telling me
That
you were.
doesn't matter.
Whoa.
There's a 50
size
There's a
and
50. There's a
body.
The
50
snake was just telling me to relax with Floyd Mayweather.
Those are
Floyd-
two different arguments.
I'm just
Dude,
trying to
Floyd
say-
Mayweather is a pro boxer and is.
So you think at 50 whatever years old he would punch harder than Logan Paul at 27
He doesn't need.
years
He doesn't.
old?
He doesn't need to punch harder. All he needs to do is just be able
He
to
knows what the
outlast
hell's
him
going
in
on.
a ring.
No
this
way.
dude, like
He's got 50 pounds on him.
You need to
dude.
understand that the
thing is, if Floyd gets-
education in the sports mindset is more important than young power. You know what's really crazy? I never agree with him, and I agree with him right now.
Floyd Mayweather, pro fighter,
You need
pro
to
boxer.
understand. I need to understand this in a
My jaw. For those of you not watching on YouTube, my jaw's on the floor.
and I need to say this and
You
and
think.
an experience.
I have a question
Hold on,
after
one-
two. You
let
go
me
first.
Just,
You
let
go
me just,
first.
let me just explain. An
This is
experience,
ignorant.
and I don't think it is based off an athletic standpoint. Playing in high school and soccer, the amount of
You kicked balls. You didn't throw punches.
1,000%. And I'm just trying to explain it in a point where the professional level is in an extreme that no amateur understands. The professional level at with Floyd Mayweather put himself at. Understand that Logan Paul has never beaten a professional boxer, and Floyd Mayweather has beaten 50. That's what I'm trying to say. Is
Floyd Mayweather is
has
twice
beaten-
his age,
but it doesn't
dude.
matter.
Do you think
It does.
Logan
That does
Paul would
matter.
never
Hear me
win a
out. I
professional
have a
boxing
question.
match ever.
I have a
Okay,
question.
he's fighting someone
Ever.
twice his age
me
and
out.
50 pounds heavier.
You need to understand that the professional level to compete at that level needs to be at the highest, and neither of those people have.
Those
They're
guys
just YouTube
started
stars.
as YouTubers.
They're just fun
They
people
started
that
as
they're just fun
YouTubers.
athletic people that happen to beat a basketball guy and also happen to go 1-1 against another YouTube star.
Nate
They're not
Robinson
beating
is not
professionals.
Floyd
They've
Mayweather.
never beaten a professional. They're just beating other YouTube and other stars. They've never beaten a professional boxer. They're never
Just so you
going
know,
to.
Just so you know, you ignorant fucking fool.
Is this a snake
Nate
moment?
Robinson, you ignorant fucking
Is
fool.
he a professional boxer?
Yes, and this professional boxing record is 0-1. Thanks to Jake Paul.
Okay,
That was a professional bout.
so he equates him to
that was
him,
not an exhibition.
Floyd Mayweather.
Was not an exhibition.
I'm talking about Logan.
What's
Oh,
Floyd?
Logan's 0-1.
No, what's Floyd Mayweather's record?
Talking about
Chase.
him. I've never
Chase,
talked about
Chase, what's Floyd? Shut
Okay,
up,
sure.
Weasel. Shut up, Weasel.
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather, sure. 51-0.
Yeah. Okay, so you really think that someone that's 0-1?
I think someone that has a 50-pound weight advantage on him, which has never been seen in that fight,
I
has an
100%.
advantage.
I 100%
but
see where you're
it doesn't.
coming
It
from.
doesn't matter because it's not a professional fight; it's an exhibition. Because Floyd would only agree to it to make sure it's an exhibition.
See,
match.
I have a counter question. Why the fuck did that Roy Jones Mike Tyson fight hit a draw? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, it makes no sense. I can't
Mike
answer
Tyson
that.
won that fight
Of
by
course, right.
a landslide.
But because they wanted to protect. They wanted to protect both of their legacies and not put a loss on their record. So they're like, it's an exhibition. So an exhibition does not count as a loss, which is why when Floyd Mayweather gets the shit kicked out of him by Logan Paul, it's an exhibition match. If I'm punching you and I'm 50 pounds heavier than you, I'm sorry. That's fucking taking you to next year. Well, I guess that makes that point. All right, so before we say goodbye, do you guys have any final words? Probably not, because you're both booze as fuck because of the garage got you. But
It's true. It's true.
yeah, the garage gets everybody, dude.
you know what?
The
like,
garage and Brian, it's
We like Brian.
we do.
you know what? Like I know Chase is gonna be on our pod next. So you know what?
Love that for me.
Like we have had a great time on this pod. You know, like come peep our pod for like a little bit.
we
of
talk
fantasy
about that?
advice.
Yes. Plug yourself. Let's go.
Let's plug yourself. We're the Weasel Snake
Weasel Snake
Podcast.
Pod.
If you want to access any of our streaming social medias, just go through our website, WeaselSnakePodcast.com. You can go to About Us, go to our teams. You can go right to our streaming network, Spotify.
It's on Spotify,
Google
Apple Music,
Music,
Google Podcasts.
SoundCloud, whatever you want.
We
we're
talk
there.
about fantasy.
you
football.
think of it, they got it.
Yes.
Come on. It's easier for you. We talk about fantasy football, but like we roast the fuck out of each other the whole time. It's comedy as hell. Come give us a look. You know, I mean, like if you like the
We're on
the garage
Instagram.
boozing.
We're on Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere.
That's
Give
right.
us
Like
a follow, give us a shout out, whatever you want. We'll shout you out in our podcast if you shout us out.
Love that.
we even give you a little
On
bit
your
of a
social
plug.
media.
Yeah, you know, and also the Weasel Snake want to give a thank you to the garage boozing, to Chase for
We had
having
a
us
lot
on.
of fun for sure. It flew by.
It flew by, you know.
We've been here for 5 hours. It feels like one.
Yeah, dude.
It's that cliche, like time flies when you're having fun.
I
You
know.
know.
So cliche, but so true.
Exactly.
All right, nerds. At that point, we are going to send off. So thank you both for joining us. And other than that, I have nothing to say. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm the snake,
I'm the weasel.
and we're out.
You are the fucking weasel.
I'm the fucking weasel.
and we're out.
Woo! What an episode. Knew you guys were going to like that one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. That was a fantastic episode. I had so much fun with those guys. They can talk. I love it. They're experiencing the podcast form, which is awesome. So I'm definitely going to have those two back on once again. But folks, please don't forget the absolute number one way to support the brand, buy some merch. We've got hoodies, t-shirts, hats, you name it. We got it. And they are available at www.garageboozing.net. Not .com, because that asshole will not sell it to me. And don't forget to follow us on all of your favorite social media accounts at Garage Boozing, as well as subscribe to the podcast on all of your favorite podcast platforms so you know right when a new episode comes out. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, you name it, we are there. Just type in your search bar, Garage Boozing, bam, you'll find us. And by us, I mean me. But it sounds better when I say us. But I really mean me. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find us, the Garage Boozing Podcast. So thank you guys so much for tuning in once again on this Thirsty Thursday. It's been an absolute blast getting lit for your entertainment. And I appreciate all the love and support. It means the absolute world to me. You guys have no idea. You guys are the reason I'm keeping this thing rolling. This thing is so fun. It's an absolute blast. And the entertainment that I can give you guys, something I've always wanted to do. Just never knew it'd be in podcast form. But you know what? I absolutely love it. We're here for the long run, baby. We're taking this shit to the moon. So with that being said, nerds, I'll see you next Thursday.
Ladies, gentlemen, and nerds. Do you have what it takes to be a guest on the fastest growing alcohol chugging and nonsense talking podcast? Well, now is your chance. The Garage Boozing Podcast has new guests every week, and you could be one of them. Just simply log on to www.garageboozing.net. Click the Be on the Show tab and submit your information. It's that simple. Join the boozement or be a loser. Don't miss your chance, because we're taking this to the moon.